Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Ladd and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 250. It's somewhat of a milestone for us, but it's not as much of a milestone as our guest today has recently had on their podcast, because they've recently hit 300. So they're always going to be 50 ahead of us, unless we start doing 2 a week, Pete, and then we might catch up. But I think. Yeah, Pete's smiling.
We know who does all the work.
He's not very happy about that. Yeah. I think he'll always be 50. He'll always be 50 ahead of us. But we'll jump straight in and say that this is the 11th appearance on the Health Oddity podcast for Mr. Dan John out in Utah. And I think it's what's the town you're in, Dan?
Murray,
Utah, in the USA. How are you doing, Dan? Are you okay?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. Erica gives her best to you, by the way. She had bunion surgery, and then she got very sick with a cold. So anybody having a cough and on crutches is probably not the best time. But hey, things are good. I got my granddaughter, one of my new granddaughters, I've got 5, and Elowen is crawling. So my daughter Lindsay now, her life has radically changed. It'll never be the same. And my other granddaughter, Daisy, slept in her crib last night for the first time. So I've got a 10-month-old and 6-7 week old. So yeah, things are good. It's kind of interesting for me to mention the grandchildren because you know my story from the last few years. So it's wonderful to see that we're doing well. My daughters are doing well. I'm very proud of them. Things are good. I'm doing my best to stay ahead. You mentioned this in the thing, but I wrote that armor building formula book, and I got to tell you, man, I thought the goblet squat caught fire, was a wildfire. The ABF might be, honestly, I could probably I get more questions about that than anything I've ever done in my career. I don't know what it is. You just never know, do you? We're a funny industry. The other day, a couple of weeks ago, some idiot nutritionist said that if you put a banana in your smoothie, it destroys all the nutrients. So in our industry, we have the armor building formula, and then we have, oh my God, the reason I put weight on is because I put a banana into my smoothie. It never ends in this business, my friends. It's when you take every half a step forward is 3,000 steps backward in this industry, I tell you.
Yeah, it's funny. I was with a client this morning. I don't know if this is true or not, or where she read it, but she said, "Oh, I read an article." So I'm just saying it might be. I'm just saying I read an article, and they said that if you put bread in the fridge, I don't know if you've heard this, Pete, but they said if you freeze bread and then you defrost it and then you eat it, the act of freezing it kind of somehow does something to the starch in the bread, so it makes it eat.
Yeah. So
have you heard of this? Because I didn't know, but she just said it this morning. It's kind of similar to that, yeah.
There's a name for it. For example, with potatoes, and this is true. I know it's true with potatoes, but there's a fancy name for the starch. So if you cook potatoes and then you let it sit for 24 hours and then eat them, the starch is a more beneficial fiber. Now, if you're going to tell me the reason that you weigh 150 kilos is because you haven't put your bread in the freezer, then see, this is the issue. No matter what the gentle listener is hearing, it's always something else. Oh, the reason we don't freeze our bread. It's not the it's not the 20 pints and the 25 pounds of chips. It's the not frozen bread.
Yeah. If you're buying your bread from the supermarket in a packet from a factory, it's not going to be that great anyways. It's whether you freeze it or not. if you're buying it from the local maybe who've let the dough prove properly and all of that sort of stuff. But so
People ask me, so here at the house in Murray, we make our own bread sometimes, and the thing that always amazes me is how few ingredients that are in bread.
Yeah.
Until you go to the store and you look at and I'm not being one of those guys, I actually think chemistry is an okay thing. Yeah, I'm an actual believer in science and stuff, but if you need 30 or 40 different things to keep the shelf life for another month, that's probably something you don't want,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I agree with you. One thing, and I thought it was a bad idea for the UK to leave the EU, for the biggest reason is because of the quality of the food. When I'm in Denmark, I'm stunned at the quality, the simplicity of food. And then you come back to the States, and when I travel around the country here in the United States, I'm amazed at just how ungreat I feel after many of the meals I eat because of the amount of corn and wheat and just chemicals that are in the foods. And
Yeah, because I kind of heard on podcasts recently that I've listened to that, like, say, the American equivalent of the food and the UK equivalent. So even if you take something, I don't know, like Heinz ketchup or something like that, like the number of ingredients in the American one compared to the English one there's lots of different things, this is what I've heard. I don't know, but
yeah, here in the United States, oatmeal, when you buy oatmeal from the store, it has 16 ingredients. When you buy it in Denmark, it has 1. When you buy it in the UK, it has 4. And I get it. And some of them are to keep, if you take a bag and you throw it in your freezer to make the starch, healthier, right? That's the key. It will, I know some of the chemicals stop the grains from clumping together, and other ones do this and other ones do that. But truth is, if you like, and not, when I make mint tea, I walk out to my garden and I grab some mint and I make mint tea. The ingredients are water and mint, but if I go to the store and I buy a bag of it, there's a lot more in there. Now, let's not be insane. That's not the reason people become inflamed. That's not the reason people become obese, but it's part of the system. And the other thing is, they're so palatable. Those chemicals are designed to make you want more. And I'll tell you one thing, I fly a lot, and I'll tell you one thing that'll stop you from eating McDonald's food is sitting in first class. Sometimes I only have to fly in first class. It's very disappointing to me. There should be one step higher. And somebody comes
Dan
by.
class.
Yes, thank you. Finally. And someone will walk by with a bag of McDonald's food, and that smell hits your nose. And it's interesting because it's supposed to be palatable, making me want to eat it. And it does the exact opposite to me. It makes me go, oh, yeah, thank you. There go I, except for the blessings of our Lord. There go I,
Yeah.
I'm lucky because, I've never had a sweet tooth, and that is such a good thing. And I've been able to kind of, change my palate, with in my life to really try to choose better. Or as the great, you guys know the show How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah.
As Barney Stinson once told us in one of his ruses to attract women, just be better. So that's how I try to eat. Just be better.
So I was going to ask, actually, Dan. So you mentioned this you smell the McDonald's and it has a different reaction to you that it's intended to. And we just before we started recording, I mentioned that you've been on this, I don't want to call it a body recomposition journey, or for a period of time now, quite a period of time. And I first met you about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I think it is. And when I look back at photos through the years of when I've met up with you, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 6 years ago, you at this age now, and you're in your kind of your late 60s, I think, at this stage,
almost 70. Yeah.
Almost 70. You without a doubt look younger and healthier than you did maybe 8, 10, 12 years ago. And one thing on your recent podcast that you mentioned is that you said that you aim, and I think you work with a coach, or you kind of work with coaches and things, and you said that you aim to lose maybe half a pound to a pound a month. So I just
Yeah.
want people to hear that that's a month, not a week. Um, and it's a very gradual process, but you've obviously made some real life changes over the last 5 6 years. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about why you did that, and then what you've done? Is that okay?
So, I'll sometimes I'll read online that I'm a fat bastard and stuff like that, and I don't know shit, which, makes your day, because that's the kind of thing you want to read about yourself. Uh, but one of the things that for 41 years, I was an elite discus thrower, for a long, long time. In the last few years of my career, I was still a force, in my late 40s as a thrower. Well, do you want kilos or pounds today?
Either's fine, whichever you prefer. Yeah.
So, it's real hard to weigh 207 and throw the discus really far. You can. There's no question you can. But it's a lot easier to weigh 270 to throw it with that massive engine, Uh, to be a Highland Game athlete, which I was since 1984 until, last year, I was a Highland Game. If you want to flip the caber, you got to be a big engine. Years ago, I did that thing for Testosterone Nation where I lost all that weight quickly. And when I went out that season and started trying to throw in the Highland Games, I was getting crushed by the heavyweight for distance and the cabers because I didn't have a big enough post.
Was that the velocity diet? Was that when you did that?
That would have been, yeah.
Yeah.
But so it was great, but it didn't work, because what was getting me, what gets me out there, of course, in 2007 at the Pleasanton Highland Games, I didn't realize that had become this. It sounds, folks, and I apologize. I didn't realize I'd become famous. That sounds just so, it's famous. It's just such a, I just feel like, I'm the oh, fame, that fickle fiend, yeah. But I didn't realize it, 'cause you just don't know, you don't know. But, I flipped the caber to win the damn thing, and it was a big deal. Well, there's caber Danny John, and then there's grandpa. Grandpa wants to live a lot longer. So let's talk about the process. What helped me the most was when so I read a lot of stuff from this guy online named Rusty Moore. Now, Rusty Moore will probably be the exact opposite of, I love Rusty's work very much. I think he's fabulous. But, he's very much, it's called the yacht body. Well, go to all the yachts in the world and find all the male models and have them flip cabers. It ain't going to happen. You're not going to find a lot of guys who do the magazine photo shoots throwing the shot put far. They just don't. I remember when I first wrote those articles, back when I came up with the goblet squat and the suitcase carry, and I wrote those articles for Men's Health. And then they would have pictures of the models. The one guy carries a 25-pound dumbbell. And I'm like, it should be half your weight. Well, I met the guy and it was like, it is half your weight. These guys are these guys are very small. They're very short, but they're also, and they got nothing on them. I mean, they are shredded, to be a at the time men's weightlifting model. So, well, when I started with easy strength in the beginning, it was to help me throw the discus farther. Okay. Reading Rusty Moore, I realized that, I wasn't that many steps from taking easy strength from a way to prepare collision athletes and track and field people to weight loss. And that's when I came up with easy strength for fat loss. And that's basically you go into the gym and you get your lift on, and then you go for a walk. Well, the lifting, according to Rusty Moore, kind of, get your body to release the free fatty acids. Drinking coffee releases free fatty acids. Fasting releases free fatty acids. Sleep. Well, lifting does it too. And then when you walk, I always describe it like Pac-Man. As you're walking, you know, your body is eating the free fatty acids. Well, so I started doing it, and pretty soon, you know, I'm down 16K. I'm down 35 pounds with the simple things. Let's see, I sleep, I drink coffee, I don't eat until I lift and walk, and that was it. That was the whole program in the beginning. So you're going to ask me about dietary intervention, and the only dietary intervention was not eating until I lifted and walked. Okay, so it's sleep. You know, it makes sense. I mean, try not to try not to gorge your, you know, don't eat dinner and then second dinner, you know, don't hobbit this stuff, you know, don't, there's dinner and then there's second dinner and then there's beverages and then there's third dinner and then there's a snack and then there's a midnight snack. No, try to eat dinner and be reasonable. So sleep, fast, coffee, lift, walk, life goes on. And that was good for 35 pounds, right? I mean, and it came off kind of effortlessly. I also wasn't competing anymore. So I wasn't, I wasn't doing those big beer fests after. And, I mean, a lot of the Highland Games I did were sponsored by makers of scotch and beer companies. And the food was, I mean, it was I mean, it was pizza with pizza on top, well, a couple of years ago, oh no, yeah, and maybe when I was going through those personal problems and issues, actually, which was hard. It's funny about how if you're going through a rough time personally, and it was the divorce and the death of Tiffany, and you both knew Tiffany, right? Yeah, and you're going through tough times. Your body seems to respond one of two ways, either by puffing up and getting heavier or by really leaning out. But neither is really truly sustainable. And I couldn't tell you honestly where I was at that time. But once I kind of got out of that fog, I decided to make another massive change. I hired a coach, and it's interesting because if Dan John were coaching Dan John, the advice would have been the exact same. But sadly, this guy is an idiot when it comes to coaching this guy. Does that make sense? It's the old joke about if you coach yourself, you have an idiot for an athlete, right? Yeah, yeah.
So when you did you hire a coach more for the kind of the lifestyle interventions and the food and the nutrition and that sort of thing, or was it to do with your training? Was it just everything?
Oh, it's my training too. Yeah,
yeah.
So my training is, it would look to most people like a classic bodybuilding program with original strength exercises. So, like tomorrow, I'll be doing military press after each, and I'm trying to have one set where I really go for it, but basically it's about 3 total sets. One is pretty heavy, and the other 2 are more reppy. But after every set, I do my neck nods, with my when I do by the way, I'm very proud of this. Last week I got 12 chin-ups. Now my lifetime, now it's funny, online there's this one guy who makes fun of me because I suck at the pull-up, and my thought is, yeah, I might suck at the pull-up, but have you ever seen me throw the discus? Why don't you shut the F up? Because I mean, honest to God, do you remember at the Olympics when the guy got the gold medal for the pull-up? Do you guys remember that? No. And you remember in the Bible that part where they talk about the pull-up? Well, they don't. They do talk about the discus. You remember in the Iliad where they talk about the pull-up? Well, they don't, but they talk about the discus. Shut up. My lifetime best when I was a high school senior, so this is 1974, because it was just before football season, I did 14 pull-ups for a test. I weighed 162 pounds. So doing 12 at 206, I think is quite good. And 68, I think is pretty good, And then the next set, I jumped up and boom, 8 reps because, my pull-up, for me to drop 50% between pulls is not unusual. I'm not good at them. So after the set of pull-ups tomorrow, usually I'll do like a big neck rotation, lower body. This exercise I'm doing now, you guys know original strength, but we sit in a chair and we call these seated twisties. And then if I do it on the ground, we named it after my granddaughter, Elowen, because when she was first learning to roll, she used to put her hand on her hip like this sassy little look and look, do this. So
Mm.
we call them Elowens in the gym.
Mm.
So every primary lift has an original strength recovery. So my recoveries are active with the mobility movement. And then I go for a walk. I'm striving for 10,000 steps a day. Uh, the best investment I think any of our listeners can make is one of these little, this is a $20 pedometer.
Mm.
Uh, it's it's so much better than using your phone because this is it's not exactly analog, it's not exactly, um, uh, you know, I don't know, a sundial, but it's one step. It's a little bit more advanced than a sundial. But what's great about that is you put it in your pocket, and it doesn't disturb you. It doesn't make it doesn't give you the news or music. It just tells you how many steps you walked. And uh,
Mm.
so right now, the big ones for me, I do have a calorie. I am on a calorie deficit, which I mean, heroically, it's 2,600 calories a day. And once you figure out, I have a client I'm working with, and every day on the way to work, he goes to this little Scottish restaurant called McDonald's, and he gets some side orders of bacon. Okay, well, he was getting coffee and then three side orders of bacon to start his day. That was his pre-breakfast. And he goes, "Is that good?" And I go, "Well, let's do the calories." I looked it up. McDonald's bacon is 225 calories per serving. He gets three. And I go, "Okay, so that's 675 calories." He goes, "Well, is that a lot of calories?" And I go, "Well, so I'm going to give you my breakfast real quick, okay? So 2 eggs, uh, 110 calories of cottage cheese, which is like 2/3 of a cup. I know, I'm sorry about using cups.
No, that's okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so 2 eggs, 2/3 of a cup of cottage cheese, a berry smoothie with 30-gram protein in there, usually leftover veggies from the night before or something like that, and usually like a grapefruit and 3 cups of coffee.
Mm.
That's 667 calories. And I go, so your snack is 675 and that massive meal. And he tried it the next day. He ate what I told him to eat. Tried it. He goes, "I couldn't finish it." I go, "Yeah, that's why calorie counting, and gets us back to our bread discussion too."
Mm.
So 667 calories of salmon and steak is a lot of it. 667 calories of chips, crisps isn't a lot. Um, there's a company here in the United States called Tostitos, and we bought a bag because we're doing a taco bar for a little party here, and I got it. And of course, now you guys know I'm a bit of a psychopath. So it said 170 calories per serving, but then a little bit, it said 17 servings per bag. So if you were like a blackjack dealer and you served out 17 servings, you end up with 4 or 5 crisps, chips, 170 calories. Well, the protein drink I have in the morning is 160. So
Mm.
it's just, so for me, what's helped me the most, and I'm not trying to turn this into, just too much, but if when you take a moment to look at calories, you'll be amazed at it is hard to eat 260 calories a day if
Mm.
you pick the heavy, the caloric dense stuff. And
Mm.
it's been eye-opening for me. And the other thing I need to answer, I'm very proud of my athletic career. I'm very proud of the fact that I at one time could press the beast more than anybody could even imagine. I'm very proud of all these things, but I'm also 68 and I'm trying to be around for my grandchildren. So sometimes you gotta, you know, I tell my clients all the time, how many rabbits do you want to chase? And finally, I faced the music myself and I said, well, let's lean out and
Mm.
let's do what we got to do. Um, uh, I have abs. I would show them, but there's probably some young ladies watching this, sometime, and I just don't want them to be you know, just so disappointed with every other man on the planet for the rest of it.
It's really interesting though, Dan, you said about because we had a few weeks ago, we had a guy on called Terry Hollands, he's a British guy, but he was in the World's Strongest Man for 15 years and he's 45 now. But he's like 6'5", 6'6", and he used to be at his heaviest when he was competing between 180 and 200 kilos. Yeah. So a huge guy. And he was one of the best in the world at doing those like truck pulls and plane pulls, you wear a harness and, but very similar. He's about 45 now, but he said that, but he was so big, he lost and he realized that he came down to about 145 kilos, which is still a big guy. But he said that and he was actually just as good on the pulls, but he said, whereas when he was really heavy, he used to get it moving really fast to begin with. But if you were pulling it, say for 20 meters, the last 5 meters, it was just rolling. He didn't really have anything left. He said being lighter, it took him a bit longer to get it moving, but he could power right through the whole 20 meters, so, and he's also a lot healthier and a lot fitter and that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it's like you say, it's, I suppose, body composition for sport, for performance is one thing. And then, like you say, for longevity and for living a long life and being a grandfather and all the rest of it is something different. And we had a doctor on last week, didn't we, Pete?
Yeah,
Nancy Allen.
Really
good.
A ring, by the way.
Oh, have you?
Yeah. Afterwards, yeah.
So she's like an NHS doctor, GP, and she was saying about we talked quite a lot about dementia actually with her last week, and I don't know how much of an issue dementia is in America, but
huge.
It's huge.
We got a guy running the place.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was talking about a few of the big things linked to dementia. One of them is weight and is obesity. One of them is alcohol as well, and all these kind of lifestyle factors, sleep as well. So all these lifestyle factors really play into, like you say, you're nearly 70 now and wanting to control all the controllables. And like you often say, don't you, you've got genetics, you've got, you can do all your lifestyle stuff. You've got luck as well. Luck is in there. But if you can do all the things that you can do to control things, then you're setting yourself up with the best possible chance of living a long, healthy life, aren't you?
Yeah. And the other thing I would, especially for our listeners, it's like, there is nothing wrong with chasing elite sports performance. There's nothing wrong with trying to be as smoking hot as you can be at certain times of your life. There's nothing wrong with just going to the gym 2 or 3 days a week and, just getting your fundamental. There's nothing wrong with, walking and working in your garden. But it's like Ecclesiastes. There's a time for everything under the sun. And so for me, I don't have a ton of regrets about my athletic career at all. I loved it. And nor do I have any regrets with, staying a big engine. The mistake I may have made is that I probably should have changed right around probably after my first total hip. I should have just, and I was doing it, but I should have just bought into it more, except I wanted to prove to everybody that I could still be a Highland Game athlete. But, I should have maybe body comped maybe just a few years earlier, but you know what? I'm loving this. So it's okay. It's all new and fun. Every week I do my little body measurements, now, because of a law enacted by President Obama, I still strictly have to keep my guns up. Okay. That is,
the Armacondas.
The right to bear arms. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And actually it meant bear arms. So that was not, we're supposed to have hairy arms with the claws.
I thought you meant bare arms, as in you meant to wear a singlet to the anyways with this, couldn't you?
So yeah, I kind of think it would have been nice, but this is this is what happened. This is where I am, and like I got to tell you, I was saying I love the measurements. I take those photographs every week, and they just make you feel terrible. And then all of a sudden you'll look and be like, wait a sec, that doesn't look nearly as terrible as my before picture. But one last thing, folks, before don't if you're going to do a transformation, just a reminder, there's 3 photos you got to take: the before, the after, and then the after. A year after you do your little program, take a picture, and that's the most important one. I think it's the most important one for your health, because if you yo-yo, does that translate? Yo-yo?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If you go, you weigh 120 kilos, you weigh 90 kilos, you weigh 128 kilos, you weigh 93 kilos, you weigh 145 kilos, you get down to 85 kilos, but the next day you're up to 120. That's probably harder on your health than just maintaining any of those numbers. So that you take that before picture where you look frumpy, you take the after where you suntan and you look great. Wait a year, take another picture. That's the most important of the 3, actually, because once you make decisions about the scale or about waistline or anything, then it's very important to make sure you reasonably hold on as much as you can. And to me, that's one thing about your gym, James. And whenever I go to your gym, we tend to find a lot of the same people still training there. Remember, I only get to your gym once every couple of years. So and some of the people I know from your gym, they have maintained the discipline of showing up in the gym. That to me is more important than a short 6 to 12 week transformation. I mean, there's a million transformation programs, and they're all, I mean, we're gonna have an issue here. So, okay, so can you guys see Buddha there?
Yep.
Hey.
Okay, so there's a fly that got into my house, and Buddha's on the hunt. So while I'm sitting here, if you hear what sounds like some deep forest where tigers and lions and dinosaurs and raptors and anacondas all live together, that's what's going on right next to me right now. Okay, it's the circle of life.
And you touched on something a minute earlier, or just a few minutes ago, that we did an episode. We talked about the concept of bumpers, which is something you talk a lot about. And you mentioned with this recomposition, this weight of you've got a lower number and you've got an upper number, and as long as you stay in between the two, you're on track, as it were. So what's your and you said though that you don't very often adjust the bumpers. Something you have to adjust it. So where are you at the moment with those bumpers?
Right. So I weigh 207. And by the way, when I got to 207, which was my goal weight, my coach, Scott, said an interesting thing. He goes, okay, now I got a new goal for you. And I'm like, 206. And I thought, that's when I knew I had a good coach, because he didn't say 186. He said 206. So my bumpers are still, so I lowered my bumpers down by a pound on January 1st. So my bumpers are 217 to 227. And I write that in every day. And the reason, so here are my bumpers. Now let's review. It's going to seem stupid when I first say it. My bumpers are here, man, but I'm down here. Well, my goal is how long can I stay at this rate? How long? Because if I can't stay here for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and I slide back up to 217, then this is an artificial drop. It's not, for whatever reason, it's not sustainable. Okay. And we all know how to do that, right? It'll be JSP's, Essex Gym. No, wait.
Unique results. Yeah.
What Chelmsford?
Chelmsford. Yeah.
Chelmsford Challenge, the Chelmsford Challenge body comp, 12 weeks, and you do these things. And at the end of the 12 weeks, you have a big party where you put half the weight back on. And 3 weeks later, everybody looks like blobs again, right? We all know it, right? So I know, okay, let's just say this. Hi, I'm Dan John, and I know I can overcome every obstacle. And BS. We all know that I'm a normal person. So if I can hold on to the bumper, I'll tilt the bumper and slide it down to something. Does that make sense to you? So next bumper. So this is my current bumper, 217, 227, but I'm down here. Okay. If I can continue, hold on to it another month, another 2 months, another 3 months, then I'll bring the bumpers down again. Okay. But then, and the other issue I'm having is I don't know what they should be. So I tend to slide about 2 or 3 pounds upward on a normal day. And I have yet to figure out how my weekly weight, I weigh in every day. I have yet to figure out the cycle of how things happen. It seems after leg days, my weight goes up. Wednesday, I worked my legs hard. Yesterday, I guess it was. But it's a funny thing. So my best weigh-in tends to be my Saturday morning weigh-in, which is after my press and chin-up workout the day before. So I can't yet figure out if you weigh in every day, you get fluctuations, big fluctuations. I have noticed that there's the little restaurant. When you visit me, we'll take you there. They have a steak, potato, and vegetable meal that's 730 calories. And I find that is like one of my favorite, that's like one of my favorite dishes. But if I eat out at some other places, I'll notice not the next morning, but 2 days, my weight to shoot up. That's where I think the salt comes in, the salt issue. Now, folks, please, salt is a short-term issue for a lot of us, unless unless you do a lot. It's interesting with the dementia thing. I actually think long-term, they're going to say things like too much salt and those weird fake oils were going to come in. And my thought on this, James and Peter, is because that chronic weird inflammation you get from salt. If you're on if you eat a lot of salt for a while and then magically go to less salt, there is literally a whoosh that your body goes through. And I constantly think that at some level has to be hard on I don't even know what
Yeah,
system.
because the salt causes you to hold on to water, doesn't it? And to retain water. It's like when you salt an ice on a road, and it absorbs all the moisture into the salt. So the salt just causes, like, if you have, the worst thing we have over here, I suppose, is like Chinese food, like Chinese takeaway, not real Chinese food, no, Chinese takeaway food, which is full of salt and what's it, MSG and all that stuff. Yeah, and then you just the next day you just feel like you just ballooned, because you're just holding on to everything. Yeah.
And now I will be happily wrong, but I do think chronic inflammation very often is just a nice way of saying obesity. But I also think that there's other factors that start to happen. And it's interesting you mentioned Chinese food because, one of the things I've discovered on my travels is that when you go to the different countries, what we eat here in the United States has no
Yeah, that's why I kind of clarify more like Chinese takeaway food, not real Chinese, like authentic. If you go somewhere, it's the kind
like
of
chicken's feet.
Yeah,
chicken's feet and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the takeaway food that we get in England or you get in America, that's basically bears very little resemblance to what the actual people eat. Yeah.
Yeah. It is really kind of hard to get heavy on true ethnic food. Yeah. When you go to there's a great television show here in the United States, Stanley Tucci. He goes to Italy and eats in every region, and it's one of my favorite shows. And when you watch people make Italian food from scratch, it doesn't look anything like Chef Boyardee, or whatever, or these. And I get it, it's very inexpensive to make pasta, but the American pasta probably certainly doesn't look like what they're making in this TV show.
That's just started over here, actually. I've not. Have you watched that yet, Pete? Have you
I
watched
haven't watched it, but
No.
I know of it, and I know he goes around.
If
I've
I
seen the
can,
trailers. Yeah, it looks great. Yeah.
it is honestly one of the I can watch that show just straight through and then watch it straight through again because he's marvelous and the people are marvelous. And oh, by the way, another really good cooking show. I don't know if it's uh but I get it on Apple TV. It's a French show. It's called Carême or something like that. I hope I said it right. And it's a Napoleonic cook who's also kind of a spy. And it's just a delightful show about food. Uh it's interesting. I can't uh you got Ratatouille, the Disney show, which was just brilliant. Carême, and then Stanley Tucci. And it's funny because it would be a fun day to watch, all three of those because of obviously, there's great joy in making, having your own garden, making your own food. There's something so wonderful and beautiful about it. A couple of years ago, my grandchildren, Danny and Josephine, I had those little cherry tomatoes, the little small ones. So I had an entire bush of them, and they said, "Can we have some?" And it was like looking at bears eating berries. It was just like pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
They were eating them so fast that the tree just got, I think the word is denuded. It just disappeared in real time, and just became it was a cherry tomato tree, and it just became a bush within about 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and so there's something wonderful and good about that. So on this body composition trail I'm going on, let's review what I'm doing. I'm focusing on sleep. Yesterday before my workout, my leg workout, I had 7,000 steps in. I do drink a lot of coffee. Do you want me to go through what I'm doing? Just go through it.
Yeah. No, that'd be great. Yeah.
So, okay. Good night's sleep. Start the day with coffee. Ideally, get some steps in. I drink sugar-free, orange-flavored Metamucil mixed with creatine. Creatine's for my brain. Metamucil's for my digestive tract. Um, Ideally, I get a morning walk before the group shows up. 3 days a week, I lift weights. I try to get 10,000 steps in every day. Before I eat, I try to get my workout and my steps in. Okay, before I eat my first meal. My first meal is fairly high in protein because at my goal is 200 pounds ultimately to weigh. If you go 200, and of course, the number here in the United States is 0.8 grams of protein per pound, that your goal, that still comes to 160 grams of protein for me. And folks, I got to tell you, I think 0.8 is low until I try to eat 160 grams of protein every fill in the blank day. And that's a lot.
Because from what you said earlier, just quickly did the maths on your breakfast. I think you're probably getting about 50 grams in your
Two
breakfast
eggs.
of
Okay.
protein.
So 2 eggs, the protein smoothie, which has 30.
Mm.
So what do you have for two eggs?
That's 6 each. That would be 42, and then you've got the cottage cheese on top.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what that would be.
I think it would take you probably at least 50.
Yeah,
Just
probably.
in that first meal. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that I think 50 is doable, reasonable. We know that the human body can probably deal with up to 150 grams of protein at one serving. Probably not in one meal. It probably, I mean, you could do that way. The only problem is you would probably not be able to eat much else for a long time. And then and then of course, I'm real big about these big we call them bowls here. We got these bowls. You put a protein in, you put beans in. Again, let's go back to calories. So here in the United States, we have cans of beans. A can of bean comes to 220 calories total. So if you eat half a can of beans in a meal, that's only 110 calories, but a massive hit of fiber and protein. And then I put arugula. You guys call that rocket, I think. Rocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
So arugula, rocket, broccoli slaw, and then just whatever veggies else you want to throw in, and you stir that. So last night I did a layer of turkey, ground turkey about that thick, layer of black beans, a ton of arugula, a ton of broccoli slaw, because when you spin it around, the arugula and the broccoli slaw kind of disappear into the bowl, So, at my dinner meal is a lot of protein and a lot of veg. And then my dessert is that's another thing I would really say. Try to have your breakfast, your snack and your dessert just locked and loaded. My dessert is a chocolate protein drink, uh, 30 grams, okay, of protein. So with just with so
Are
you
you
know,
still making your own sauerkraut and things? Because I know you're big
oh,
on
yeah.
fermented foods as well, weren't you? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The last one I made was disappointing. I really thought it'd be the best I ever had, and it turned into a rock pile. So I was yeah, so okay, so here's okay, when it comes to body composition changes, caloric restriction is the most true. Having said that, what's also true is the health of your stomach, your gut biome. That's also true. So if you have a compromised gut biome because of antibiotics or poor a poor selection of food. For example, if all you decided to eat was macaroni and cheese, 3 meals a day for 2 years, you'd probably destroy the healthiest parts of your gut biome. In fact, you might even put yourself in a situation that long term you're going to have some big issues. And I also believe in the insulin thesis also, um, where if you eat, and I love it when the research will say that children don't change behavior when they eat sugar, and I'm always like, well, don't let a kid eat sugar for a month and then give them some high sugar thing. Just tell me what happens in the next hour. But I do think the insulin thesis is also true. But so if you don't mind, the big hit is your calories, and then after that would be an appreciation of your gut biome, and then an awareness of the insulin theory. The sugar crash followed by the sugar high. The sugar hike. Uh, Ideally, you would put yourself in a situation as a child that you eat a variety of food, so your gut biome is built in, and say it's um, here's another thing that'll help you travel and eat foods from different areas. It really helps. When I was in the Middle East eating, I ate local cuisine. I think I lost a lot of weight because, of course, I had that issue. But I think I also lost weight because my gut biome was working so hard to keep up with all the new things. Then, of course, if you can, I don't want to say avoid sugar, but be an adult. Not everything has to have doesn't and not, you don't need sugar on your French fries, on your chips. Okay, you don't need to sprinkle cinnamon and sugar on your French fries or your chips. Come on, eat like an adult.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. And in terms of so that's been really good because they are kind of I wrote one of the notes I made earlier was like life truths, exercise truths, nutrition truths, but you've really kind of the nutrition stuff that you it's like you say, it's all straightforward stuff that most of us know, don't we? And but we've had this conversation before. It's sometimes you give someone something that it seems too simple to be true, or seems too simple to be. There must be some secret. There must be something I don't know. Whether it be putting the bread in the freezer or whatever it is. It's kind of.
So I go on Reddit, which actually the Reddit kettlebell place is really a good place. Very friendly, very real people. They post videos of them. It's I like it a lot. And but what'll happen is it'd be a rare day I don't get. I'm doing the armor building formula or Reddit fill in the blank program. We'll just use ABF because those are the ones I look at. Is it okay to add snatches? My response is, have you done the 8-week program? No. Well, why don't you do the 8-week program? I'm starting the ABF, but I noticed that there's no fill in the blank. Should I add? Why don't you do the effing program? Do the program. What happens usually, and I guarantee, James, you know this. Someone comes in and they want to get ready for, and it doesn't matter what it is, an Olympic lifting meet, a fight, whatever, and you give them a program, and in the first 3 days, they always want to add more. And you're like, well, you don't even know how to squat yet, so why are we adding Zercher squats? You don't even know how to goblet squat, you're going to go to Zerchers, right? That's always what it is, right? when I give people the ABF, everyone always says, well, it's only two things. I go, I know. I wish it could be more. But when they get to the end of it, the 8 weeks, the 12 weeks, whatever program they're doing, if they actually finish it, they're always like, oh my God, I cannot believe how much better I feel. My family says I'm a nicer person. What happened? Well, because you worked out for 20 to 30 minutes, 3 days a week. You went walking on the other days. You got some recovery. You got some hard training. Good for you. Okay. Um, when it comes to like what I'm talking about, the fasting, the coffee, the workout, the walking. Well, what about, and it's always like, what about Magic Formula 5000? I saw this. So we're back to going to the, you know, do you guys have, your nutrition stores are different than ours, but, because of,
We've got like a GNC or whatever. Is that what you're going to say?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So here in the States, it's the Wild West because we had a senator named Orrin Hatch who got paid off well by the supplement companies. So we have basically unregulated supplements. Our supplements can do a lot. I mean, everyone wants these fat burners. Well, I'll give you a fat burner, okay? Get a good night's sleep, fast until you work out, drink a lot of coffee, and then go for a walk. There's the best fat burner I know. People want this pill or thing like that. And I don't know. And the thing is, some drugs really, really work really well. Taking us back to Ratatouille, when he sees all those chemicals that kill rats are really good fat burners. There's a downside to them, though. Of course, if you get the dose wrong, you die. So there's a little thing just to kind of keep in the back of your mind. I've never had someone die from sleeping or, fasting and drinking coffee. I'd like to try to die by drinking too much coffee. That would be.
There's a good way. Just get rid of fridges, refrigerators. Get rid of them and just keep your food out in the sun and everything, and then eat it. That'll get you thin.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Buy some meat, leave it on the table for about a week, and then eat it. Yeah.
That'll sort you
like
out.
those traditional kind of, like you mentioned, Italy. Like Italy, Greece, Spain, France, where this is, I mean, we won't go into this, it's a whole nother rabbit hole, but where people will walk in the morning, fresh bread from the bakery in the morning that basically goes hard and stale by middle of the afternoon. So you eat fresh, greengrocers, walk down to the harbour, get your fish, that's kind of the previous life, isn't it? The way life was.
My neighbors across the street here are from Crete, and Jenny has told me many times when she first came to America, she was surprised that people sprayed for dandelions because dandelions make a great wine, and they're also a wine. And it's funny because I can go down to one of the most expensive hotel restaurants in Salt Lake City, and they serve dandelions in their salad. And here, all my neighbors are spraying to kill them. And so at first she was surprised when she would go to our parks and harvest. She would harvest all kinds of plants and herbs to eat. And she goes, I wasn't used to these Americans on how they get food. And it's funny because if it was just an interesting thing. We call them weeds, they call them dinner, very, very. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, Dan. That's been superb catching up with you. And I can't believe last time you were on was episode 200. So it was nearly a year ago.
No way.
It was 200, and then this is 250. So that was near. And I think, though, you said that you're going to be over in Europe next year, and we might be able to we'll set up some kind of workshop again or something when you're over this way. Yeah.
Would you be interested in that? Yeah,
I would love it. Yeah, no, and I've already told. It's funny. We held a workshop at my place the weekend just gone, and one of a few people were there who came when you and Tim were over last, and I said, Dan said he's going to come over again, so we'll set something up. And then one of the guys hadn't been on that one, and he said, I'm definitely going to come. So yeah, people will always, if we set something up for next year, that'd be brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. So my friend Adrian over there in Galway wants me to come, and I'd like to do that. Niall up in Belfast wants me to come, and that'd be fun. hit your place, and then a buddy of mine is going to do. He's going to do a 50. I think it's his 50th birthday celebration in the south of France. And I thought, man, if I could make that, well, that'd be a
Hmm.
fun day. That'd
And
be.
did you say, have you got something in Norway, or did you say was it Norway?
I've got something in Holland, the
Holland,
Nether.
maybe, yeah. So no, that would be, yeah. We'll definitely sort that out, and we'll get that set so you can come over and spend a weekend over here. That would be
Yeah,
amazing.
that's always fun. And I do like that restaurant we went to, that restaurant we always go to there near the hotel I stay at.
Yes, yeah. That's called
Always
the
have such
Grange.
a
The Grange, yeah. That's easy. Yeah,
strange,
that's good.
strange.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Still, some of my best memories when we stayed at the hunting lodge, Henry VIII's hunting lodge, and
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
That's just next door. Yeah, the New Hall School. Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
that's just delightful. I love. And then I was thinking at the hotel I stayed at last time, in that little place that we go to, uh,
Oh, the hotel that's right by the train station, and then
by the train,
the original Plough, just the pub that's sort of
the
like,
original
yeah,
plow.
yeah, yeah.
Give them,
Oh, and Pete was there last year, weren't you, Pete?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah. You guys
yeah.
got to, yeah.
No,
And
we'll definitely do it. It'll be brilliant. Yeah, no,
oh, you guys are wonderful to work with. Um, well, what else can I share with you?
Well, I was just going to share with the listeners and the watchers that I've got two books that I'm holding up. One is the Armor Building Formula, which you actually buy it as like a PDF and then you print it off yourself, which is
Sure.
if you like. And then the other one, Easy Strength Omnibook there. And then obviously you've got Easy Strength for fat loss, and then like you said, I think you've got the Kettlebell Workout Companion on Amazon now. But I think those ones, the ones that Dan kind of the ones that are the Armor Building Formula and the Easy Strength Omnibook, which are the big two recent ones, you just go to danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore to get those. But I mean, and that is really everything that you need in those two books will last you a lifetime, really. If like you said, in terms of training, if people just have to have the courage. And I think one of your quotes, I think you said before, you have to have the courage to not get bored, to just stick with something and do it, and not, like you say, want to add stuff to it, or do it for 2 weeks then want to do something else.
Yeah, oh, so I would say, like with Easy Strength, I mean, it was a career changing program for me. I look back at the time, and it's because Tiff was on the road 40 weeks a year. I checked that with my daughters because I didn't want to exaggerate, and both daughters said, "Yeah, Mom was gone all the time." And I go, "Did I really make breakfast and dinner for you guys every day?" "Yes, you did, Dad, and thank you so much. You're a hero." "Okay, thanks, you're welcome." But you know, with my two daughters, and I had two career, I was an administrator and a professor at the same time, but I was still trying to compete at a high end. Easy Strength was the answer. And the weird thing, and I've told you on this podcast before, my competition would come up and say, so what are you doing? The whole, that net, you see my neck knot here? That means, what drugs are you on? Ready? So, hey, James, you look good. What are you doing? That neck knot. Hey, Peter, you look better, which means you're probably off the stuff. No, but and I would tell them exactly what I was doing, and I'd get the whole, yeah, right, yeah, okay. But the truth is, and so Easy Strength works. Armor Building Formula, it's 3 workouts, and people say, well, how will I get in shape by just 15 rounds of it? It's like, dude, that's 45 squats in 13, 14, 15 minutes. Shut up, man. I don't know about you, but that's hard.
Like
And
you say like double kettlebell front squats, double kettlebell overhead presses. They're
yeah,
big, hard exercises.
yeah,
Really, really good. Yeah.
big movements, man. Big, yeah. So yeah, I appreciate, and thanks for saying that, talking about them online.
Mm.
It, I've never done an Armor Building Formula workshop because I just think it's so simple, but I'm almost to the point that I think I should do one, because I can't believe people keep asking so many questions, or they
Mm.
want more variations. It's like, but, and I believe in variation. I like Pat Flynn's old line about, consistency for success. I like that. I think it's true. And then, variation when you come to plateaus. And I only believe in three kinds of variation. No variation, which is my personal favorite. Shut up and keep doing it. Mild variation, that's going from the bench press to the incline press. And then wild variation, which is what I basically do. I go from bodybuilding then to an Olympic lifting thing. It's different. And But the third one is the most important of that list. And then he says randomness for fun. So you do something for fun. But let's go back to I coach American football. And how do we spell fun in American football? WIN. So you're not going to have all the fun you want, but if you want progress, you got to stick to it. When I talk about losing, half a pound or a pound a month, that means my caloric deficit needs to be 50 to 100 calories a day. So if you lose, I mean, honestly, if you could nail the math perfectly and do just 100 calories and keep everything the same, you'd lose a pound every 35 days. You'd lose half a kilo every 35 days. And if you go for a walk, because 100 times 35 is 3,500. And if you go for 10,000 steps and you burn an additional, depending on things, 200 to 400 calories, you can lose a pound every 2 weeks. And I'm going to just follow up with something I deal with my inner circle. But guess what, folks? You're not going to get any high fives. You're going to go to a party and no one. If I always weighed 207, right now, I got to tell you, because I look so effing good in a tuxedo and I look so good. Do you ever see the pictures of me on my Instagram when I'm in tuxes and stuff?
Yeah.
Dude, I carry it off, man. I am. In fact, Amazon keeps calling me about being the next James Bond. But if I say like I weighed 207 in 1990 and I weigh 207 today, and I still got that tiny waist, those broad shoulders, those pythons, my armacondas, I'm not going to get a single bit of positive feedback if you weigh the same weight for 30 years. But little fat, chubby Edna, gets up to 600 pounds, gets down to 500 pounds, bulks back up, gets back down that's probably too much. But if somebody weighs 250, gets down to 200, everyone's like, oh my God, what did you do? And they're going to say, well, I drank apple cider vinegar with maple syrup and some cayenne pepper. Oh, you're such a hero. The true heroes, I say this to my students in the academics all the time. The students I like best are the ones who go to class, turn things in on time, and never ask for any extra time. Those are the true academic heroes. But what happens is in life is you don't get rewarded for that. It's boring. You do your daily walk, you do your damn calorie restriction. It's boring. I don't want to hear about it, James.
I was thinking about this when you were talking about it earlier about the reward. And so if you said if you lose a pound every 35 days, that's 10 pounds a year, roughly. 30 pounds in 3 years. That's about just over 2 stone in our language. And
it's pretty damn good, isn't it?
However many kilos, that's a lot. But it's not a lot. It's not a lot very quickly. However, in 5 years' time, you're going to look like you want to look like, rather than looking the same as you did 5 years ago because you've tried to yo-yo it. And the reward, when you're talking about reward, it's who are you doing it for? Are you doing it to get are you doing it to get people to give you compliments, or are you doing it for yourself? And if you can get to the point where you're doing it for yourself, like you said, you're doing it you want to be there for your grandkids, like when they grow up and all of that, and you want to be dancing at their weddings and all that sort of stuff. And that's like, that's great. And that's why. So yeah, the thing about the reward is you've got to reward yourself for the consistency, I think. Because if you're waiting for other people to do it, they'll only do it if they can see it. You know what I mean? And it's the thing where you see someone every single day and they look the same, but someone might see them 6 months later when they haven't seen them and they'll be like, you look amazing. What happened? You know what I mean? Because it's a big transformation across 6 months, but people, you see people do it online where they've taken a picture of themselves, like a selfie, for the last 10 years. And you see the change in 10 years, but day to day, it looks exactly the same. It's like all those sorts of things. It's amazing. Yeah.
It is. And thank you for saying that, because I try to teach people I work with that it's not the external, it's the internal. And I got to tell you, who's been helpful with me on this is Erica, because I went to my elementary school reunion not long ago, and Eric and people really complimented me about how good I looked. And then I'll go to Utah Presents, and then people I haven't seen in a couple of years will say, "God, you look great." And I finally turned to Erica and I said, "God, did I just look like shit before?" And she goes, "Danny, they're giving you a compliment and you should say thank you." And I'm like, because I'm so competitive, I'm always trying to figure out, what really, yeah, yeah, really, yeah. But I mean, some of it I'm very proud of. I've had to have all my suits and my tuxedos taken in, which is, I mean, that's wonderful. I have, I've always bought, uh, form-fitted custom shirts and stuff, because I don't know about you guys, but if you're a lifter, buying stuff off the rack is maybe a t-shirt, a football team t-shirt, but nothing else fits. I mean, holy cow. I mean, my thighs and my butt don't like American pants, I'll tell you that. Um, but it's great and it's wonderful. And at the same time, my biggest goal was at, episode it better not be 300 that you make me wait for, but when I'm on the thing, you guys are just like, "Dan, you continue to be the best looking and best body in the fitness industry." And you guys will be saying 50 episodes from now, "What are your secrets?" And my secrets are going to be as boring as this. You got to keep it on your calories, you get good sleep, you got to go for an F and walk, you got, you got to lift weights. And you'll both lean in like, "Yeah, but
Have you been freezing?
Dude.
Have you been freezing your bread?
yeah." And the answer will be, "Dude, I'm freezing my bread." Whenever
You
I
just
don't
reminded me of it.
yeah,
It
no
reminded me
bananas.
of a quote from, I know you like films. Is it? No, it's a 90s film, isn't it? Father of the Bride. When
Yeah.
Steve Martin, like, he's trying to save money on the wedding, so he's upstairs with his tux on, isn't he? He's like, "I bought it in 75 and it still fits. You'll be able to do that." But legitimately.
Oh dear.
I love it. Listen, my crew's starting to show.
Yeah.
But hey, I don't know why you guys don't have me on more often. I'm eye candy, right? You got to admit, I'm eye candy. I'm fun. I put up with Pete's bullshit stuff.
Dear me.
James has to do
Dan,
that every week.
thank you so much, Dan. Oh, and I don't Edith, who was at the gym. I was training her earlier today. She's the Scottish lady at my gym.
Yeah.
Gave you some whiskey once when you came, but she
did.
she said to say hello. Because I said I was on with you today. She's still training regular. Like she's one of these people who's been training with me. She's 65 now. She started training with me just before she was 50. So like 15 years just consistently training, and she's yeah.
And she's a wonderful woman. And tell her, bring more whiskey. But but I mean, how about that? You got a 15-year client. The amount of experiences, she goes to workshops, right? She
Yeah.
pays attention, she shows up, she knows. If I recall, she did a strongman.
No, she does like the tactical strength challenge. So like deadlifts and snatches, but
Yeah.
she listens to your podcast every week, I know, and she reads your books as well. So yeah, she said to say hello. So
Sure to tell Edith to tell all of her friends to buy my books, because my grandchildren, unless we get deported, because I don't want it because of my status. But they got to go to college, so we need the cash, okay? Buy Dan's book. That's joking.
Excellent, but no, we'll definitely talk, and we'll set up a visit and a workshop, a weekend next year. Will be amazing. So thank you. I know you've got to train now, Dan. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody for listening and for watching. Please do like, share, subscribe, leave a review if you're watching or listening on a platform that allows you to do so. Especially Apple Podcasts is where we're trying to get the reviews in, and we will be back next week for episode 251. We will not be with Dan John next week, but we will be back without Dan for episode 251. Thank you so much, Dan.
You bet. Anytime for you guys.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. We will see you next. We'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.